Hey, so today we're going to talk about the keyboard as a whole. If you watched the two previous videos, you'll understand that there's a pattern of black keys that is 2, 3, 2, 3, alternating and repeating all the way up and down the keyboard. And we need to understand that pattern of black keys in order to identify the white keys, because the white keys are all in a fixed position against the black keys. For instance, the example that I gave before was that in between any set of two black keys, we always can find the key D. If you understand that well, now we can move on to the keyboard as a whole. So obviously when we play the piano, generally we're going to be using a certain mixture of white keys and black keys. So it's important not only to understand both, but understand how the keyboard as a whole works as a single unit. If you've ever played a keyboard before in your life or any kind of piano, you know that it is a gradient. The notes go gradually from low to high, left to right. And if you are going from low to high at all, gradually like that, you are moving up the alphabet. We learned last time that we use the first 7 letters of the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then once we get to G, it just repeats again an octave higher, or one set higher, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And those same 7 letters get repeated all the way up and down the keyboard. Which means if we're moving down, then the alphabet is going backwards. A, G, F, E, D, C, B, A. So now we have to understand how all these different notes relate to each other. If you want to play the piano or any instrument, just be a good musician who kind of understands what's going on when we're playing anything or making any kind of music. So, as I said, the piano is a gradient. If I were to play each note, black and white, from this low C, this C2, upward, if I didn't skip any, so white, black, white, black, white, white, black, white, black, white, black, white, white. Every one of those notes was the same sonic distance from the last one. And the best way I can illustrate this is with what we call sort of a musical staircase. So we can think of each pitch as being a step on a staircase. And so if I played again what I just played before, which is each note not skipping any white or black keys in sequence, stepping up. So in music, what makes a certain melody sound its distinctive way aren't necessarily the notes themselves, but the distances and relationships between notes. If I step on every step of the staircase, I don't skip any, then every relationship is going to be the same from the last one. That's why it sounds so odd and sort of baseless when we play all notes in sequence like that without skipping any. And in fact, if you ever watch any old cartoons, they always use that, except going downwards when someone is falling. Since there's no distinctive shape to just every note in sequence, it feels like it could just go on forever. But when we introduce a specific pattern, then we have sort of structures that the ear gravitates towards, and certain notes we want to go back to, and certain notes that the ear perceives as being more important than others. Now I've labeled each step of our staircase with a different key. So this is C, the black key above it, D, black key, E, F, black key, G, black key, A, black key, B, and an octave up C. So really on the piano and in all Western music that you hear, we have these 12 different pitches that we use. Between the white and the black keys, there are 12 separate pitches that get repeated all the way up and down the keyboard. And then we're back to, in this case, C was sort of our bookends. So now we're going to introduce the first two smallest possible distances we can have between two notes. And this can happen between black keys and white keys. It really doesn't matter. That's why it's important to introduce black keys and white keys separately, but everything works as one force. So what we have are half steps and whole steps. A half step is simply defined as one key to the very next key, up or down. So if I'm playing on C, a half step could be from C to this black key just next to it, or from C down to this B, because there's nothing in between. As long as there is no key in between two keys, those two keys have a relationship of a half step. The famous Jaws theme is just half steps being played low, back and forth in succession. Then you probably guessed it, a whole step is when we skip exactly one key. That would be C to this D here. I could say E to this black key, or this black key to this black key, because we'd be skipping over A. So as long as you are skipping over exactly one key, doesn't matter if it's black or white, that is a whole step. So as I said earlier, when you play half steps in sequence, that's that sound we hear when someone's falling in a cartoon. If you play whole steps in sequence, that's when someone goes into a dream in a cartoon. Those are all whole steps. So you can see when we have no pattern and we have all of one or the other, it sounds like we're kind of floating and there's no floor to the music. But when we introduce a pattern, suddenly we have a structure that the ear likes and appreciates. So as you can see here, from C to D, I have a whole step. From D to E, I have a whole step. From E to F is a half step. From F to G, whole step. G to A, whole step. A to B, whole step. And then B to C, half step. So, if I'm playing all white keys from C to C, I have whole step, half step, because there's no black key there, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step at the top. This pattern of whole, half, whole, half is the definition of a major scale. When you hear someone playing this, they've just played a major scale. And this structure is what the vast majority of the music we listen to is based off of. So if you have a keyboard at home, try to play either half steps, going up or down, and whole steps, going up or down. Again, it can be white to black, black to white, white to white, black to black, depending on what it is. But all keys, black and white, work together as one force when we are playing on the keyboard. And all music that we play uses these same 12 pitches.